Welcome to Transactional Love Stories. I'm your host, Becky Burdick, and I am doing it solo this week as Crystal is taking the week off to get moved into her new digs. I thought being at the end of 2024 would be a perfect opportunity to reflect back on this previous year and make a plan going forward for 2025. Hopefully, most of you are like me as well. That you get those New Year's resolutions put together, and hopefully this year we'll be able to stick to them. So, the topic I'd like to talk about tonight to help us make some resolutions for the new year coming would be to understand emotional intelligence. Now, the definition of emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions as well as the emotions of others. So it's just being self aware, recognizing your own emotions and what their impact has on your everyday being. This is one of the reasons why I push for people to dive into your feelings and emotions and start to look at your triggers. So, I've talked before briefly, and in my blog, I mentioned, looking into your triggers because those are the things that set you off. You may not realize what things are happening around you that all of a sudden make you feel anxious or upset or nervous or afraid or whatever that does to you. That's where emotional intelligence can really help you because once you're aware of what your trigger is and you're able to recognize what it does to you, you can go back to that trigger then and create a plan and stop having that trigger affect you and have a ton of impact on you. Um, I know people can go from okay, just myself, I'll get anxious, I might get nervous, and when I didn't understand what my triggers were, I didn't understand what was causing it. All of a sudden, I would just have this icky feeling, and I didn't know what was causing it. So for me, what I did to be self-aware of what those were is I went back and okay, what was happening? And what were the sights, sounds, smells, what was going on around me that caused me to start feeling that way. And then once I could recognize what that was, I was able to face it and say, okay, now I know that, for me it was when somebody yells at me, that is a trigger to me and that will create me at my worst case scenario like kind of just shut down, and I don't normally do that. Normally what I'll do is I'll start to get into my it would be a flight or fight response, but for me it's not a flight, it's more of a fight. So recognizing that helped me to be able to, when I come across a situation, and it doesn't even have to be aimed at me. It can just be somebody yelling at somebody else. So, maybe you're out in public and somebody starts yelling or something. Now I'm able to say, hold up, hold on. This is not going to affect me, even if it pertains to me or not, because here's what's going to happen. And, I don't have a problem going up to somebody and saying, you need to stop yelling. You're not needing to do that right now. Let's sit down and talk. Or whatever it is, whatever your trigger is and what's causing you to go into that situation, you have every right to tell somebody, can we sit down and talk about this in a different manner? This is what this is doing to me. Set your boundaries with those people in state. This isn't okay how we're handling this at this moment or how this is happening to me right now. And this is what I expect and what I need you to do for me right now. Now, once you know what's causing it, if you're not able to get yourself to that point where you're able to speak up and set your boundary, then it's okay to walk away, go step outside, get yourself regrouped, and make a plan to take back your power and take back your self emotions. Make a plan to come back and say, okay, I need to face this instead of walk away from this. And that's what I do because I do not want to have anything make me want to run away. So I look at everything that puts that fear in me and I start walking towards it head on. And I'm just like, I, the dialogue I'll put in my head, not today, Satan. You're not getting me today. I'm not going to let you win this. I'm not going to let the person who put me here, so for those of you who've listened before, you know it's my dad. I'm not going to let his behavior control me as an adult to this day. I won't do that. So when I hear somebody yelling, rather than go to my fear and flight stage, that's where I'm going to go into my, and I don't necessarily have to fight, but it's a fight stage. I'm going to stand my ground and I'm going to, put out my boundaries and tell people this is how we're going to do this. So self-awareness is the first step to that. You have to first recognize your feelings and what it's doing to you before you can address them. Because if you don't know, and there's people out there that have no idea what their trigger is. And it's something that, like I said, you need to document, journal. And that's one of the other steps about understanding your own emotional intelligence and building on that is journal. And so when something happens, jot it down and go back. Like I said, what are you hearing, seeing, smelling, touching? What is causing that? And, think about each thing. Think about your surroundings and the people that are around you. And as you think about each thing individually, you're going to go through and all of a sudden you're going to think about something and you're going to get that twinge like, oh, that's it right there. And the only way you can do that is to take the time and go back and reflect. Keep a track in your journal. Keep track of that. Write that stuff down. And then you can start to say, okay, this is what I want to fix. That then becomes your self-regulation. You're managing and controlling your emotions in healthy ways. So for me, my self-regulation was, instead of, like I mentioned, going into a flight, I bring that back around and I'm like, no, I'm going to stand my ground here. I am not going to let that take me. I'm not going to let that prevent me from doing whatever it is that I was doing. Maybe I'm out doing something fun. Who knows? Rock hunting or doing something that I really enjoy doing, and somebody else yells, and like I said, it's got nothing to do with me. I am not going to go run home and go sit and hide in my house and not get to do the things that I want to do because of that fear, because of a person who put that fear in me. I'm not going to give in to that. I'm not going to do that. And that's what I want for you in this new year. I want you to be able to stand up to those fears and just be like, nope, you're not getting me today. When you start to face these different emotions that you have and making a new plan, that is where you start to grow. And that's where your emotional intelligence grows. And when you build on your emotional intelligence, that is where you're going to find your relationships, your healthy relationships will start to grow. And your negative relationships, when you start to build on yourself and you start to get your own emotional intelligence building, you're able to go look at those negative relationships that you have in your life, and you'll be able to start to get the confidence to walk away from those relationships. And that's what you need to do so that you don't have to have that fear constantly face you. Now, what happens that we don't have our emotional intelligence continue to build? Well, it can get disrupted from abuse, especially in early childhood. So when my dad would act out, I'd sit there and one of the things that I would say often is, it's like watching a 3-year-old throw a temper tantrum. And I started to think about that, and I'm like, it's almost as if he stopped growing with his emotional intelligence at 3 years old. Like at 3 years old, his brain shut down, and whatever happened, I feel it happened around 3, or, give or take, could be 2, could be 5, I don't know. But it's like looking at a small child throw a temper tantrum, and something I think happened to him at that time or during that age period that caused him just to shut down. And instead of working past that, he reverts back to that to get what he wants. So I think about, okay, so does a narcissist, we know people have tendencies, but are they created? And I wonder if something happened at his age or at that stage in his life that affected him, and he stopped developing emotionally. And then instead of moving past that and building on himself, he started to, in I should say, building on himself in a positive way. I feel he started to build on himself in a negative way, where he started to do the, I am smarter than other people. I am stronger than other people. I am, and I am, and I am, and I am, until he believes it so much so that he doesn't have the empathy towards other people. So he doesn't care anymore about the other people because he had to build himself up to repair the damage done when he was younger. And he built himself up to the point where he thinks he's better than everybody surrounding him. And that is what I believe in a lot of cases, and I could be totally wrong on that, but that's what I believe. Just watching how he acted creates the narcissist, because like I said, we all have tendencies. We'll all, you know, have little bits and pieces of things that, we think we're better at other people, but most of us have that empathy towards other people as well. We're not going to totally destroy and control others. We're going to, okay, maybe I'm going to be a little more stubborn on this thing because I know I'm right, but, hopefully on something else you're going to be able to say, you know what, they do have a good point, let's go that direction. So narcissists don't have the ability to be self-aware or pay attention to the emotions that other people are having. Again, the empathy. So in the downside is when somebody is having an emotion, so they're controlling you, they're saying something painful to you, and they're watching you suffer. Like they're seeing you cry, they're seeing you be upset. Rather than, oh shoot, I hurt their feelings and I feel bad about it, they actually enjoy watching that happen because they're like, good, now I'm getting under their skin. That's somebody who's a narcissist. So I know some people get, oh gosh, well sometimes, I have some of these tendencies. Again, we all do, but it's how you react to others and behave with others. So a narcissist is not going to look at the fact that they need to work on their emotional intelligence. They don't need to go back and self-reflect, become self-aware, look at their emotions, looking at how they're impacting others, because they don't care about that. But somebody who you might have the tendencies, but you're not, you have empathy, you're going to go back and you're going to be like, how can I improve myself? How can I work on me? And when I'm doing that, can I help others in that process? And that just means, and I'm not saying that you have to go out and be a therapist to everybody, but you're not trying to take other people down with you. So those are the things that make a difference between somebody who is a narcissist and does not have emotional intelligence versus somebody that does have an emotional intelligence and is trying to build on that. So again, self-awareness is the first step. Understand your emotional impact and what the past abuse has done. And in understanding that, that is essential for you to heal. The way I present this is in a way that it's obvious I'm trying to help people. That is exactly what I'm after. It's not about, just rehashing my past. It has nothing to, well, I shouldn't say it has nothing to do with it because I am, but I'm at this point where I can talk about it like this because of the work that I put in to my self-awareness and into my emotions. I have spent a lot of time thinking about and working on telling myself, no, I'm not giving in. I'm not going to let that control me, because that anger will get you. I can tell you that as a fact of life. It got my mom, and that's what took her down, and that's what got to her, and it killed her. I'm telling you, it killed her. She had a mental breakdown. It started out in that fashion, and then her brain just kept turning off because she couldn't handle and deal with the situation around her, and she didn't know how to handle it. So instead of, and I let me back up. I should say it just wasn't the one thing. It was a culmination of things over a period of time that just kept building and taking over her thought process. So when you hold it inside and you don't direct, head on attack it, it's going to come out in some form, and it's not going to be a healthy form. Whether it's high stress levels, high blood pressure, cancer. Um, I believe a lot of cancer is caused by people that have gone through these kind of situations and keep it locked inside. And then, like I said, in my mom's case, a mental breakdown that leads to dementia, that leads to, the same effects that dementia does. It eventually kills you. So that's why, I talk to so many people that say, I lock it away. I don't want to, it makes me feel bad when I think about it. It made me feel bad when I thought about it too, but I also knew that by not addressing it, I was damaging myself, and I was not going to let that happen. Damaging myself, again, gives my dad control. So now I can sit here and talk to you about the situation and be matter of fact about it, because I have faced it and I have understood what was happening. And in understanding what was happening and understanding that the narcissist wants some kind of reaction from me, my dad wants me to probably be sad and, oh, my life is so terrible because I don't have him in it. Nope, nope. And I just tell myself, when I start to get angry at him and think about, our situation, I'm like, no, he doesn't deserve that. And that's where I want you to be. I want you to get to that point of that person no longer controls my thoughts. I control my thoughts. That person no longer controls my emotion because I control my emotions. And they no longer control what I'm doing every day. I'm not going to sit at home and hide or sit at home and be afraid. I control what I do today. And if today I want to go out and be around people or be in public, I will go do that. And I'm not going to sit at home and be afraid to go into public because I'm not afraid of my triggers. If something triggers me, I might have a quick, and then when I feel that, I tell myself, no, we are not going to do that today. Those are the steps. So how do you start to deal with those? And it's not easy. I'm going to tell you, it is just not easy. It is a lot of work, and it's a lot of meditation. It's a lot of journaling. It's a lot of mindfulness. The first steps, and I was just telling somebody about this because I know they're in the middle of a real stressful part of their lives right now, and they're just trying to figure out, how do I get past from this constant negative thoughts and being angry and upset about the way people behave. And the best advice that I can give you is to start with journaling. And the reason I keep pushing that, well, for one, they know for a fact that it does change your mental structure, your brain structure. It literally changes how you think when you write stuff down. When I first started, I used to think, and I didn't start for a long time because I used to think, well, I'm thinking about it. I'm processing. And so I used to not want to write my stuff down because, I'm thinking about it. What I didn't realize, because when I did start, I just sat down one day and I just started writing. I am pissed off because, and I just started writing why I'm mad. And what happened was, I wrote the stuff that I think about, and all of a sudden that stuff was out, and I started to go on to some new things about why I'm mad. And I discovered that there's things that I didn't allow my brain to process because I was so busy with that initial thought and rethinking that thought and refining my thoughts on that and going back and, okay, did I cover this and this and this and this? But I was stuck in like the same loop of thought. But when I journaled that loop down and got past that loop, all of a sudden different thoughts came out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was a huge epiphany. I had all these other things that I never allowed myself to process because I didn't write it down. And I know it probably sounds crazy, but trust me, try it. Just start writing about everything you're mad about and angry about, or everything you fear. And those can be even different days. Some days they could be anger, some days they could be fear. The next day do a different topic. Why does everything have to be blah? And I guarantee, I think you're going to have that epiphany in there, that something all of a sudden is going to come out that you maybe knew, but it was shoved back, but you're not addressing it because you're busy keeping that loop running in your head and you're not getting everything down and out on paper. And when you're done, you can destroy it. You don't have to keep it. You can keep it if you want to go back and say, oh yeah, on this day, I was this angry, and now on day 10, I'm not that angry anymore because I got that out. And that's done, that's gone, and now I'm able to, okay, so if I'm angry about this, what can I do about it? Can I do something about it? It's not everything you can fix. You can only fix you, really, or the situation that you're in. You can't fix the other people, and you shouldn't try because they're not willing, other people are not willing to change. And especially if you've got somebody who's abusive, they're definitely not going to be willing to change. So that is where you can make that decision. Either I'm going to stand up for myself and set my boundaries, or I'm going to change my situation. And you can make a plan on going forward. So, okay, what do I need to do to make that change, whether it's to myself or the situation? So that's where I'm gonna keep coming at journal, journal, journal. And I think you're gonna find, I believe, I shouldn't say I think, I totally believe you're gonna find that it's gonna change your complete way of thinking once you get past that initial loop that your brain is stuck on. The other thing is meditation. So, when I'm sitting there thinking about stuff and I'm finding myself getting upset, the first thing that I start to do is, oh, hey, you know what? I'm getting myself all worked up here. And you have to just kind of pay attention, like do a check-in on your mental thoughts and your mental feelings every so often. How am I feeling? Am I mad? Or, am I mad? Am I sad? What's going on here? And then think about, okay, why do I think I'm any of those things? And then meditate. So the best way to start, because when somebody first told me that too, I was like, are you out of your bloomin' mind? My brain is going a million miles an hour, right? It's like faster than a flip book. It's just of thoughts of the insanity going on in my brain. So when somebody told me to do that, I'm like, there's just no way. But what I found is the easiest way to start is take a deep breath in through your nose and count to 5 as you're doing it. Hold your breath for 5. Count to in your head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And keep doing that. And I think you're going to find that you can't do a ton of things at the same time. So by breathing and counting keeps your brain busy, that all of a sudden you're realizing that you are actually just focusing on breathing and counting. So then you're not thinking about those other things and you're giving your brain a little mini vacation. And while you're giving it that vacation, you're also getting oxygen throughout your body, especially if you breathe in and hold it for 5 and then breathe out. You're getting oxygen to places that you're probably not getting a lot of oxygen to, especially if you're upset, because then you're probably breathing shorter and you're not taking good deep breaths, and it helps to release some of that cortisol. So as you're doing that slow meditative breathing and your brain is focusing on counting and breathing, and you're getting that oxygen into your system, do that for like 10 reps. And I think you're going to find that all of a sudden you feel so much better. I know I do. Even just deep breathing, I just feel so much better. And then you can go back and look at the situation. Okay, what's going on? And you get a better grasp to handle that situation when you've taken a few moments to stop and breathe. Then go into that mindful thinking, that meditation thinking. Okay, how am I going to address? And should I go get my journal and write this down? And yes, you should. That's the answer. Do those things and start to think about, okay, what didn't work for me? And this can be for anybody. You don't have to be in an abusive situation. What did not work for me in the past? So why am I repeating that? Why would I not change and do something different in the future? Because if that's not working, why still do that? That can help you to move forward. And you're going to find when you start taking some of those steps to move forward, and they're just basic, simple steps. Breathing and counting and journaling are easy steps that we all can do for our New Year's resolutions and stick to them. I mean, it's about as easy as you can get. And when you go back and you read through and you realize what's coming out on your pen and paper, and as you're breathing, you feel so much better when you get done. And you can do that 10 times throughout the day or 20 times throughout the day. Every time you start to realize that you're getting stressed, go to the bathroom if you have to. And while you're in the bathroom, do some mindful breathing. Let yourself reboot. Okay, I can go do this now. And then get back out there, and you're going to feel better. It might take a little bit. It might take a few times. But you're going to find that place of relaxation. And when you do relax, pay attention to that feeling too. What does it feel like when all of a sudden I realized, you know what, I've done how many reps of my breathing and counting. I do feel so much better. How does this feel? And it's like a muscle memory, right? When you do something a lot, you start to have muscle memory on things so that you don't necessarily even have to think too hard about repetitive motions. Relaxing is the same. Develop a muscle memory of what it feels like to feel relaxed and what it takes to get you there. Then, when you have some crazy situation happen, something unexpected, maybe a trigger that all of a sudden happened that you weren't expecting to happen, you can call back upon that muscle memory of relaxing and go back to that state. And I have done this a lot when I would do horse and dog massages. Some of those massages during those years where when my parents things were at their worst with my parents. So being able to, when I would go out and do a massage on an animal, that animal had no clue why I would have been upset because of what happened at home. All they knew is I was upset, and why does that concern them? And I can tell you I learned in a very painful way, and this is why I really push, learning how to relax, because I learned very painfully what it means if you don't relax and you're around other people and animals. I got kicked by a horse, and it was my own fault because I had a bad attitude. I wasn't in the mindset, and the horse told me immediately that was not okay. And I'll tell you what, that kind of pain will make you want to find a place of relaxation before you go up to another horse again. And, and that's another thing. Instead of being afraid, I'm like, nope, I love being around horses. I need to figure out what I need to do differently to stop that from happening to me again. And it makes a huge difference when you come to that realization. I need to work on me and build me and make me better and teach myself how to relax. After I did that, just a side note here, I can't tell you how many people would come up to me and say, "You are just so relaxing to be around." And sometimes these were strangers, like people I did not know. They would just walk up and say, "Can I sit by you?" And I'm like, "Sure." You're just so relaxing. There's something about you that's relaxing. But it's because that horse taught me I had better relax or it's going to hurt. So that's what I want to push for you. I want you in this new year to come to that stage where you can find a place of relaxation and be able to call upon that muscle memory. And every time, every moment that you start to feel yourself go to a level of stress, come back to your relaxation spot. Start by breathing and counting. And once you do that, look for other things that are relaxing. So some of the other things that I do is, I've talked about it maybe before, where, like I'll go out to YouTube, the host of our podcast, and I will Google or search on YouTube for relaxation frequencies. And you'll get a list. There'll be a list of different sounds, songs, music, whatever you want to listen to. And I pick my favorites, which happens to be ocean waves. I do like a good thunderstorm, depending on the situation. Or gentle rain falling, water running. I'll pick some of those sounds, and I'll just sit back, put my headphones on or my earbuds in. I'll sit back, I'll relax, I'll just listen to that sound and start to picture myself. Okay, so if I'm listening to a trickling stream, what am I seeing around that? Am I surrounded by trees? Is it foresty? Is it mossy? What's the temperature outside? Is the sun shining through the trees? And what would that look like if I was sitting in that spot by that stream right now? I start to picture that. And I'll make sure I take deeper breaths. And I don't necessarily have to count because I'm looking in my mind at the picture that I want to see. If I was sitting next to what sound I'm hearing. That for me, that would put me to sleep. And that should hopefully do that for you. Because I'll sit there and I'll start thinking about those things. And I'm so focused on that, I've forgotten all the negative. And pretty soon, I'm out. All of a sudden, I'll wake up a little while later and I feel so refreshed because my brain went into a nice, relaxed, comfortable sleep. It wasn't an agitated sleep. Those are the first steps that you can take. So I am going to cut this short today because I want you to take that foundation and start to practice those few things. I want you to build on those eventually, and we'll continue to come back and help you build. But I just remember what it was like when, I was just at my wit's end with everything. And people told me, you need to relax, you need to meditate, you need to journal. And that's why I shared those stories with you that I just thought people were insane. You have no idea what kind of stress I am under. You have no idea what I'm going through and how many things I'm going through at this time. There is no way I can shut my brain down and relax it. Well, like I said, a good swift kick from a horse taught me you better figure it out because it hurts if you don't. So I wanted to share that with you. It is very important because thankfully I had a horse teach me. Had I not had a horse teach me, it might have been a heart attack that taught me. It could have been going down the same path as my mom, a mental breakdown that taught me. I didn't want to learn that way. I shouldn't have had to learn from a horse. But you know what? That's how I learned. If you have stories or you have things that you've done that's helped you to relax, or you're just stuck and you're not sure on how to get to that point, don't be afraid to reach out. Like we keep saying, we'd love to hear from you, knowing that people are there to and can benefit. tells us we're on the right track, and we want to keep helping people, and that's what this is all about. Happy New Year to you. I hope some of this helps you, and we'll talk soon. Thank you for listening to Transactional Love Stories today.